A chorus of groans and Bonbon's yelp of protest followed her exit. She immediately set out to the town square, if only to give her hooves something to do while her mind and heart raced. While not exactly according to plan, it was a start. She held an image of a flustered, blushing, and squeaking Bonbon in her mind's eye, and found her legs had carried her from a canter to a skipping trot of their own accord. All she needed to do was to provide one little push, and the prettiest mare in Ponyville would be putty in her hooves. Lucky for her, she had plenty more to deliver, and an entire day in which to make good on her promise. Lyra's hooves danced across the harp she held in the golden era of her magic. Usually she'd be playing her lyre, but given the holiday, her grandma's old harp seemed more fitting. The instrument sung as notes rang out with each pluck of strings. She closed her eyes, focusing on the movements of her hooves and letting herself fall into the melody. An easy smile spread over her lips. Music always had a way of clearing her head and easing her nerves. Not that she was nervous. There was still plenty of time. Guaranteed the last few attempts at Bonbon's store were not exactly successful. But they weren't outright failures either. She got the hint that she would avoid the store for the time being, though when Bonbon threw a handful of sugar-coated flower petals at her the last time. It wasn't all bad. A few free sugar treats were nothing to scoff at, and she learned to avoid the particular lines in her books. That was a win, marginally. All the things considered, returning to the shop now would likely be met with more angry Bonbon and less of a flustered Bonbon she adored. All she had to do was wait for her prey to leave the shop, and then she would pounce. When she stopped her playing to adjust herself on the park bench, she was surprised to be greeted with a polite stopping. A few ponies had stopped to listen to her, and she made sure to smile and wave at them as they moved along. Now the performance had ended. Letting out a breath, she leaned back against the bench and set her harp down next to her. The clock tower chimed, filling the quiet left in the wake of the patient, and the muscles around her shoulders and back tightened up. 1 o'clock. Lyra sat up, her eyes open wide. Already? She thought, swallowing a lump in her throat. Her head turned to the end of the street, where Bonbon's shop sat among a row of other stores. Any minute now, the owner would walk out that door, turn the sign close, and walk to the end down the street to her favorite diner where she had lunch every day. It would also bring her right past Lyra. Movement behind the door caught her eye, and Lyra rolled her shoulders and picked up the harp. She started a simple song, humming along the tune as she sorted through which line she should try next. Just as she settled on one, a voice interrupted her playing. Lyra? A giddy bubble of energy tingled down her spine. Lyra smiled widely. So much for nerves. Hey, Bonbon, she said casually, stringing her hooves along the harp. If anything would give her a final push, it would be the deftness of her hooves over the instrument, and when everything would go according to plan, she used her magical hooves to make something else sing entirely. Bonbon quirked at her head to the side and arched a brow. What are you doing? Taking a little break. Lyra's hooves danced once more over the strings as she brought the song to an end. Thought I'd get a little practice in. What you think? I could play something a little more, just for you. The flat stare Bon Bon shot at her didn't faze her in the slightest. Taking a break from what? Pestering me all day? Lyra's eyes sparkled. This was almost too easy. Nah, she said with a shrug. Looking for leprechauns. Bon Bon blinked and gaped at her in the loss for words. A few seconds later, she collected her wits and shook her head. I'm sorry, but, leprechauns? Where? Did you see one? Lyra twisted around, cupping her hooves around her eyes as she looked around. She kept her back on Bon Bon, lest her toothy grin give her away. Have you gone crazy on me? Lyra couldn't resist. She turned around and almost fell over. A rush of laughter rushed up her throat at the look of Bon Bon's face, looking at Lyra as she had grown a second hand. With great effort, she contained her laughter and lowered her back down to the bench. Crazy for you,